At this point, you've probably noticed that when I do things like rotate the elbow, that a certain amount of mass is lost in the arm. It bends more like a spaghetti noodle than an arm. And the same thing with the leg. When I bend the knee, the leg gets significantly thinner. So all of these things are bad things that I would like to be able to fix. This is a great time for me to take my root joint and stick it onto a skeleton layer, because the next thing that we want to do is we want to be able to turn the selection of joints on and off really quickly so that we can move back and forth as we fix our weight painting. One nifty trick that you can do is set up just a really basic animation to see what you like and what you don't like. So let's do the hip first, and let's say that what I'm going to do, not even going to time this at all, I'm just going to animate my 3 rotation values. At frame 1 we'll go out to frame 12 and we will rotate. Maybe we'll just go up like that, because you can really see that that's quite a fold going on and that we're losing rather a lot of volume in the butt region. So that gives me a good sense of where the weight painting is having trouble. Now, with weight painting, what I'm going to look at is the model itself, and you'll find that the places where I've put extra edges are going to be easier to paint, and that's one of the reasons that it may help you to know that in the skin menu there is an unbind skin button. So at any point, if I decide that I want to change the character's geometry, I can unbind the skin, and then I can just rebind when I'm done making my changes. So keep that in the back of your head. Binding your skin once is not final. You can unbind and try different things. But to just kind of show what weight painting does, if I have the body selected, in my right-click menu, and that's just regular right-click, you can see there's edge, vertex, face, I've now got a new option, and that is the Paint Skin Weights tool. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Let's turn off my skeleton. With the Paint Skin Weights tool, anytime a joint is selected, what I'll see on the model is a black and white display. So this is the area that my root joint is affecting. Then here's my left hip, and my left knee, my left ankle, and my left ball. The white area are the places that this joint is affecting. The black area the joint is not affecting, and the gray area is a place where there's a transition from affecting and to not affecting. Because we used the classic linear skinning method, this is a straight shot between a value of 1 and a value of 0. If you want to look at it in a slightly more mathematic way, let me go to vertex mode and select a vertex here. This vertex, when we looked at it in the Paint Weight tool, looked like it had a value of 1 for the left ankle joint. There's a window called the Component Editor. It's a general editor. In the Component Editor, I've got this Smooth Skin tab, and the Smooth Skin tab will show me exactly what values I'm using. So this vertex has an influence of 0.008 from the ankle, 0.027 from the hip, and 0.965 from the knee, so it is being influenced principally by the knee, and then a little bit by the ankle, and a little bit by the hip. This vertex here is getting about half of its influence from the hip, about half from the knee, and then just a little tiny bit from the other leg. So I like looking at the component editor because it gives me more accurate information, but since you are students, you may find it easier to use the Paint Weight tool and just see visually what you're doing. So what I want to do at this point is I want to fix this area in here where the character is losing volume. Let's keep everything open. And the simplest way to do that is to get a little bit fancy with my selection modes. So let me go back here. I'm going to start by fixing up the part of the leg that I know should be moving with that hip joint. So I'll go to Edge mode. I'm going to double click these edges here because I know with 100% certainty that when the hip rotates, these pieces have to move with it. I'm going to control right click, and in my control right click menu I can convert the selection from edges to vertices. I have to do this because technically the model does not recognize edges. The rig does not recognize edges. The rig only recognizes vertices. So you'll see that now that I'm in vertex mode, I can see all of these things light up. These are the areas that are influencing these vertices. I could use the component editor for this, and I will go through that later on. The first thing that I want to show you is just how the Paint Skin Weights tool works. Because I have vertices selected, what I can do with the Paint Skin Weights tool is I can come into the hip joint, since I know that the hip joint is the thing that I want to affect this area. I can select the hip joint. I can still see my vertices selected. So if I read on down, my paint operation is set to replace. I'm using an opacity of 1 and a value of 1. 1 is the color of white, so if I flood this, now the hip is a little more solid in this area, and as I rotate upwards, you'll see that the hip is no longer losing weight. I mean, the body still is. The body looks terrible. But the body is going to be a little different. For that, maybe I will select this edge loop here. Let's turn my joints back on. That looks like it's exactly where the root joint is, so we'll just do that one. Convert that to vertices, and then again, in my Paint Skin Weights tool, I'll just click onto the root and replace with a value of 1. I'll hit the flood button, and now as I go through this, I'll see a little bit less distortion. Some of you are probably wondering, how do I remove weight? Because you can see that the thing that's happening with these two edges here is that let's convert that to vertices. They are moving with the hip a little bit, and I want to remove influence, not add influence. The Paint Weight tool is terrible at removing influence. So for that, I usually come down here to my component editor, which again was Windows, General Editors, Component Editor. The component editor is more consistent in its ability to remove weight. So I'm here in the Smooth Skin tab. I can see my left hip joint, I can see my right hip joint. These two are the problems. All I have to do is left click and drag to highlight the numbers in this column, type in a 0 and press enter, and that will remove that column. Which means that at this point the left hip joint and the right hip joint are no longer influencing these two rows of vertices. So as I play my animation, you'll see less deformation there. It should all be gone. I removed you. Let's just do that again. Yeah, there's still something going on there. It's much harder to remove weight than it is to add weight. So sometimes you'll see it come back. You just keep pushing, keep making it go away. I think I will paint this one entirely to the root, and maybe that'll help a little bit more too. Now it just really wants to move. So between these two things, I can actually go through and paint the model out pretty quickly. Again, the Paint Skin Weights tool is in my right-click menu. And that will let me go through each of these in turn and see what they are currently affecting and see what I can do to improve them. The other option is Windows, General Editors, Component Editor. Make sure you're in the Smooth Skin tab, and this will show you what any given vertex is being influenced by. You will be much happier with this if you make sure that your skeleton is unselectable as you are going through your weight painting. And I like making quick little animations for the area that I'm about to try painting. So I'm going to pause this video here now that you've seen the tools, and in the next video I will go through painting the rest of the leg and the arm and maybe even the head, and I'll do that pretty quickly. So get comfortable with the tools, see if you can find an interface that you like, and I will be right back to complete the weight paint.